people talking to liberal people, like flat earthers talking to non-flat earthers, and it's called the middle ground. And so you'll have these, it's a debates about different topics. And so there was this one YouTuber reacting to her debate, and she was commenting on, this was edited that way, that did not happen that way, this isn't even in the right order, this isn't happening this way. And I think it's so easy to just take them whispering out of context and make it look like they were whispering during something else.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know my brother, we have this kind of like the equivalent of Survivor in France, where they are, on an island and trying to survive and they get eliminated and things. And so my brother knows a girl who went there, and she was saying that they are given kind of instructions of where to look and how to phrase their sentences, and if they don't phrase it well, they'll reshoot it so that it's done perfectly well, so that at the editing it looks like they are ignoring each other or like they are looking at each other, like it just looks a certain way when it's just not done that way at all. So when you have that in mind, all of these little cuts are just like whatever.
Yeah. No, it's very clear that none of these reality shows are 100% pure and real and genuine. There's a
Yeah,
lot of editing going on, and it's very clear as day, and we need to take all of it with a grain of salt. I just
absolutely.
find it very hilarious. I feel like in the first episode that we were talking about it, we're like, oh my God, everyone's there for love and everyone's so sweet and drama
I
free.
agree.
And here we are. And I think it's so funny that which just goes to show that first impressions aren't everything.
Exactly. And it's 100%. First impressions are not everything. And we were saying during an episode that hasn't aired yet, but there's an episode coming called Bad Dating Advice. So I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's that thing of like the first impression. You can't judge somebody when they are in an uncomfortable situation that's completely alien to them. And that's what we're doing with Love is Blind,
Yay.
where they are in front of cameras, surrounded by people, away from their phones, away from their loved ones. Yes, it's an exciting thing and whatever, but it's still completely alien to them, so they're not behaving in their true selves, and they are impacted in certain ways. And so first impressions matter, but they are not the only thing that matters. Like, it's not the majority. Just like, you want to see that and then see if the rest of the behavior fits the first impression. If it fits the first impression, then you want to stop, but if it keeps changing, then you want to see what ends up sticking. Does that make
Yeah. I
sense?
mean, there's so many different factors to take into consideration, especially since this is on TV with cameras, and we tend to behave differently with a camera and microphone, whether we want to believe it or not. It just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this before, one of the episodes, but like even with us, this is not, we're very natural here. We're very conversational, and we're very, we're just being ourselves. But even so, like I don't talk like exactly like this in real life when, because there's the camera, there's a microphone, there's this whole thing. And so there is an element of putting on a show with parentheses, I want to call them, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was my point? My point being is that we have to take these factors into consideration of what's going on. And even in real life, like a person could be very nervous, it could be their first time, it could be a lot of different things that creates this first impression that is either an act or false, or just a combination of both. So we sort of need to really be open-minded or cautious to who they really are, and not stick to that first impression. And it goes both ways, whether it's a good first impression or bad first impression, or whether it's a first impression that they want to create and then they behave differently, or if it's a first impression that this sort of happens out of nerves and out of, I don't know, a lot of fear, whatever it is, and then the actions prove otherwise again. So
Yeah. When I talk to single people and they say, oh, I don't know what I want. It's just I know the feeling that I want to get, it's the vibe. And I'm like, that is the biggest pile of steaming shit that I've ever seen or smelt. That doesn't mean anything. You can't judge someone off of a first date. You need to give them at least 3 dates before making a decision, because the first time is never the right time. And the second time, you'll see if it matches or doesn't match. And then the third time, you'll see if there's a pattern. That's when you make a decision. It's just giving time. The only
yeah,
time, the only time where first impressions matter is on a job interview. That's what I say.
yeah,
Job interview, you want to go looking at your best self, best CV, whatever, and that's that. But even at there's this YouTuber, I can't remember her name, but she works in HR, and she said something along the lines of, you want to give the best foot forward at your interview, I agree, but on your first day at work, you just want to be your absolute calmest self, because if you come full of energy, blah 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 blah, people will be expecting that all the time and will be disappointed when you're not. And
yeah,
if you come being a wallflower, but then you come up out like high energy, people will think you're a lunatic. You just want to come and be yourself and be as stable as you can. And I think that's the right thing. Is just, your first day is, going to set the tone, and that's when, impression, like, just chill.
yeah. I did want to add an asterisk though on what you said beforehand about, because I feel like when I go on a first date, I don't come with we call it a shopping list over here.
Mm.
It's hard for me to say, I want this, I want that, there's certain values that I know I want in a person, but at the end of the day, I do feel like the vibe you get from a person, or the feeling you get with them, and the connection that you have with them is what's important. But, and this is a big but, you can't base that on just the first date. My boyfriend now, we had a great first date. We were talking for hours. It was amazing. But I came out like completely confused from that date, and I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what I wanted. And I didn't feel any sparks flying. I didn't feel like it was, wow. And it took time for that to happen and for me to get into it. And so I feel like it sort of shows that, yes, you want to come in and you want to get that great feeling. And that's something that I always actually do say, is like, you don't want to focus just on shopping list. You also want to focus on the feeling you have with a person, but it can't be based on just one time. It has to be the overall feeling that you get from them throughout a series of different dates and different interactions.
Yeah.
Because yes, I feel like the vibes you create with someone is very important, but it's not the most important thing, and it's not something you can be created or understood in one date.
I
I hope
agree. I think
something of that made sense.
I think a good guideline is, you want to make sure of two, like, to find the happy middle of, like, you want to make sure that you're giving people and yourself a chance. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not give up too easily. But you also want to make sure that the red flags that you're seeing are genuinely red and not just yellow,
Yeah.
because sometimes, because you've got people who tend to give up too easily, and then you've got people who will tend to be too forgiving. And I think the happy middle is, make sure that you don't give up, like, you give people a chance, but also, if you're seeing 100 red flags, are they really red flags? In that case, you need to stop. Or are they just, yellow flags or amber flags or whatever? And, you can just make sure you find the happy middle.
Yeah. You also want to understand if it's a habit, if it's a trait, or if it's just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Again, you need to and that's again something that you can't know from just one time. But you need to understand who the person is and who their baseline is and what their baseline is to understand whether something is a pattern or if it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Or if it's something that's Like, because I feel like a lot of times, like, red flags can also be green flags in a way. Like, something that seems bad or seems good can be the opposite.
I agree. And I think, and I would add to that, if you feel, if let's say the ex-boyfriend comes along and says she did this, 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 and this, and it's true, it doesn't mean that's going to happen with you, because as we said earlier, like, people bring out the worst in each other, or people can change and, see therapy and things like that. What's true for another person doesn't have to be true for you. If you want to make it to something really meta, the prison system, especially in like Nordic countries, people pay for their crime and then come back and rehabilitate. So I know that's not how the prison system works, sadly, but that's what you want. You want people to learn from their mistakes and then grow from it. So if you see past behavior with another person, you are not that person. So you're allowed to figure out if they've grown.
Exactly. And I actually had this conversation with my boyfriend the other day where we were like, because we've both had toxic relationships before this, and we were like, if my ex came to you and started talking smack about me, it would be concerning because I don't want them to take your impression of me. And well, now we're a year in to our relationship, and I'm sort of, I know you enough to not judge you by what another person comes and tries to paint you as. And also people change. I'm not who I was in my last relationship, like I'm not who I was in my 20s. People change and evolve and grow. And we need to learn how to trust our instincts and see for ourselves, judge for ourselves. But if someone had come to us right in the beginning of our relationship and said, I'm their ex and they did this and that, it's harder to build from that a healthy
I
relationship.
agree. Yeah.
And it's sort of because you don't really know that person, and then sort of now having that voice in your head, you're going to look for those small things in them, which is why I don't like to, not that I've ever been in a situation where an ex tried to talk down my relation, the person I was with, but like, that's why I like to judge for myself, and I like to see who the person is now, and I like to see who he is with me, because different relationships bring out different sides in different people.
Yep, I agree.
Especially after that person has done so much work on themselves and time has passed, and that person could have brought out a different side in him, and I could be bringing out a different side in him. And there's a lot of factors to take into consideration here. Anyway, we're digressing here so much, and I don't even, which just goes to show how boring the finale was.
Yeah, boring finale. Interesting conversation nonetheless.
Yes,
Tell us
yes.
what
That's
you
what I
thought
love about us, that we can create such an interesting conversation
out of a boring
nothing.
finale and reunion. In a couple of months, they'll come up with like the "Where are they now?" I'm
Where
excited.
are they now? Like this, so there's one couple that actually are still married,
They
and
are.
I don't think they'll be married in a few years. I feel like Milton is sort of like a deer in the headlight. And he's like, how did I get here? And he's sort of stuck there right now. And he's gonna grow up and be mature,
Yeah.
and then he's gonna get the hell out of there.
Milton was rebelling against his strict family.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird what's going on there.
Tell us what you thought about the finale and the reunion, and
Yeah, you surprised with the couples that didn't end up together.
your predictions, and yeah,
Yeah.
follow us on all the social medias.
Yeah, pop culture Cupid. I don't know why I just said it like that.
Oh my God, pop culture cute.
Like the American pop
Hulk's
culture.
amazing.
Yes, I'm gonna
Sorry
stop.
for any offense.
Someone help me up. I'm sleep deprived.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.